Danielle Smith's game-changing move, Alberta's shocking path to independence. The debate over Alberta's potential separation from Canada continues to intensify, with Premier Danielle Smith positioned at the forefront of this contentious issue. Recent surveys indicate that a striking 45% of Albertans now support the idea of a referendum on independence. This shift in public sentiment reflects a growing frustration with federal policies perceived as neglectful of Alberta's economic interests. While a majority still favor remaining in Canada, this grassroots movement signals a significant change in attitudes towards separation, indicating that many Albertans are reconsidering their relationship with the federal government. Premier Smith is navigating this complex political landscape with a careful approach. While she publicly supports a unified Alberta within Canada, she has acknowledged the limitations of her authority to push for separation. This nuanced stance reflects the political tightrope she must walk, maintaining support from those who favor independence while also addressing the concerns of those who wish to remain part of Canada. Despite her efforts to balance these interests, the increasing momentum behind the separation movement has led to calls from some factions for her to resign, underscoring the high stakes involved. The issue of Alberta's resource industry, particularly oil and gas, is at the heart of the separation debate. Smith has consistently emphasized that Alberta's economic future relies on expanding its pipeline infrastructure to access both domestic and international markets. This perspective resonates strongly with many Albertans who view pipeline development as essential for economic growth. However, resistance from federal and provincial leaders, including Premier François Legault of Quebec, complicates these efforts. Many leaders argue that new oil pipelines are socially unacceptable, leading to frustration in Alberta, where the demand for pipeline development is seen as critical. Despite her efforts to negotiate with other provincial leaders, Smith has yet to achieve significant breakthroughs. The federal government's focus on energy corridors rather than approving new oil pipelines has left many Albertans feeling ignored. Influential figures like Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party, have emphasized the need for energy corridors to facilitate the transmission of natural gas and electricity. However, this approach does not address Alberta's pressing need for oil pipeline development, further fueling discontent among residents. The deadlock over pipeline approvals has intensified calls for Alberta to consider independence as a viable option. Many Albertans perceive the lack of progress on key issues as evidence that their concerns are being overlooked by the federal government. This sentiment is compounded by a growing belief that Ottawa's policies are undermining Alberta's ability to chart its own future. Smith faces increasing pressure to demonstrate her commitment to protecting Alberta's interests, yet skepticism remains about whether her efforts will lead to any meaningful change. Support for separation is not solely about resource development. It is also tied to a broader feeling of alienation among many Albertans. The perception that Ottawa prioritizes environmental policies and national unity over Alberta's specific needs has fueled frustration. Many residents feel that their voices are not being heard in national discussions, leading to a sense of disenfranchisement. This growing sense of alienation is driving some to consider separation as a legitimate option, highlighting the evolving political dynamics in the province. Critics of the separation movement argue that the idea of Alberta becoming its own country is unrealistic. They point to the complexities involved in establishing new political and economic systems and the uncertain future Alberta would face without the financial support of the federal government. However, history has shown that political movements, once considered improbable, can gain significant traction. The Brexit vote in the UK is a prime example, demonstrating how a silent majority can influence political outcomes and reshape national identities. As dissatisfaction among Albertans continues to grow, the possibility of a referendum on separation could soon become a reality. While a majority may still prefer to remain part of Canada, the fact that nearly half are now open to the idea of independence suggests that this issue will remain prominent in the political discourse. If Alberta does move forward with a separation vote, it could trigger a major political shift in Canada, compelling both provincial and federal governments to reassess their approach to addressing Alberta's concerns. In the meantime, Premier Smith will likely continue to navigate a challenging political landscape, balancing the desires of her constituents with the realities of negotiating with a federal government that appears reluctant to meet Alberta's demands. The complexity of these negotiations underscores the deep-rooted frustrations that many Albertans feel toward Ottawa. As the situation evolves, it remains uncertain whether a political solution can be reached or if Alberta will ultimately pursue a future outside of Canada. The political dynamics surrounding Alberta's potential separation are multifaceted and complex. With figures like Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, also weighing in on the debate, the discourse is likely to intensify. Poilievre has been vocal about the need for the federal government to address Alberta's grievances, positioning himself as a champion for the province's interests. His involvement adds another layer to the political landscape, as he attracts support from those who feel marginalized by current federal policies. As the debate continues, it is clear that the issue of Alberta's separation is not going away anytime soon. With growing support for independence and increasing frustration with federal policies, the coming years will be crucial in determining Alberta's political future and its place within Canada. The outcome of this debate will not only impact Alberta, but could also reshape the political landscape across the entire country, forcing a reevaluation of how federal and provincial governments interact and collaborate. In conclusion, Alberta stands at a crossroads, with the potential for significant change on the horizon. Premier Danielle Smith's leadership will be pivotal in navigating this complex issue as she seeks to address the concerns of her constituents while managing the challenges posed by the federal government. The growing support for separation reflects a broader sentiment of discontent that could lead to profound consequences for Alberta and its relationship with Canada. As the situation unfolds, all eyes will be on Alberta, watching to see whether it chooses to remain part of Canada or chart a new course toward independence.